The great hall of the Galactic Council was filled with fear. Representatives from 12 different species sat in their floating chairs, their faces showing worry and panic. On the massive screen before them, red dots spread across the star map like a disease. Each dot was a warship. There were thousands of them. High Ambassador, a tall creature with skin and 4 eyes, stood at the center of the hall. His voice shook as he spoke. 7 worlds have fallen in 30 days. The Dominion shows no mercy. They burn everything. They take nothing. They simply destroy. The representatives whispered among themselves. Some were crying. Others were already planning to flee their home systems. We have combined our fleets, continued. We have 600 ships remaining that have over 3,000. We cannot win this war alone. He paused and looked toward a small section of the hall where a single human woman sat. We have asked Earth for help. Ambassador, what is humanity's answer? Ambassador Bin stood up slowly. She was a small woman with short black hair and calm eyes. She wore a simple uniform with no decorations. When she spoke, her voice was steady and clear. Earth has heard your request. We will send help. Relief spread across the hall. Several representatives began to cheer, closed his 4 eyes and let out a long breath. Thank the stars. How many ships? How large is the fleet you are sending? Bin's expression did not change. 1 ship. The hall went completely silent. Then chaos erupted. 1 ship shouted. This is a joke. This is an insult. A representative from the hollow species, a being made of living crystal, pointed at Bin with a sharp finger. Humans are cowards. They send 1 ship so they can say they tried, but they do not really care if we die. Bin waited for the shouting to stop. It took several minutes. When the hall was quiet again, she spoke. The ship we are sending is called the Everest. It will arrive at the Helix Nebula in 4 days. I suggest you watch carefully. She sat down and said nothing more. Far across the galaxy, in Earth's military shipyard orbiting Mars, Admiral Sung walked through the long corridors of the Everest. He was 67 years old, with hair cut short and a face full of deep lines. He had fought in 3 wars and had never lost a battle. His crew called him the Patient Wolf because he never attacked until the perfect moment. Walking beside him was Commander Park, his first officer. She was 40 years old, tall and strong, with eyes that had seen too much death. Her home colony had been destroyed by raiders when she was young. She had joined the Navy to make sure it never happened to anyone else. The Council thinks we are abandoning them, said. Sung nodded. Let them think what they want. When this is over, they will understand. They entered the main bridge of the Everest. It was enormous, with hundreds of screens and control stations. Over 200 officers worked there, monitoring every system of the massive ship. The Everest was 10 kilometers long, larger than some moons, but its size was not what made it special. Lieutenant Ha, the youngest officer on the bridge at just 24 years old, looked up from her communication station. Admiral, we have received the final mission briefing from Earth Command. Put it on screen, Sung ordered. The main screen showed a map of the Helix Nebula. Red dots filled the display. 847 warships are waiting in the nebula, Ha reported. They are blocking the path to the inner colonies. Chief Engineer Dong, a heavy man with thick glasses and oil-stained hands, laughed from his station. Only 800. I was hopping for a challenge. Looked at him. You built this ship, Dong. Are you sure it can do what you promised? Dong smiled. Commander, I have spent 30 years of my life building the Everest. I know every wire, every plate, every system inside her. She is not just a ship. He leaned forward, his eyes bright with pride. She is the end of wars. Admiral Sung sat down in his command chair. The leather was worn from years of use. He looked at his crew, at the screens showing the impossible odds ahead, at the stars waiting beyond the windows. Set course for the Helix Nebula, he said quietly. Maximum speed. The Everest's engines came to life with a deep hum that shook the entire ship. In seconds, the massive vessel jumped into hyperspace, leaving Mars behind in a flash of blue light. On the other side of the galaxy, the warlord received a report from his spies. He was a massive creature, 3 meters tall, with red scales and teeth like knives. He sat on a throne made from the bones of his enemies. "The humans are sending one ship," his spy reported. The warlord laughed. The sound was deep and terrible. "One ship against my armada," he laughed again, and his generals joined him. "The humans are fools. They are sending a sacrifice, a gift." He stood up and spread his arms wide. "When we destroy their little ship, the galaxy will see that humans are weak. Then we will take Earth itself." His fleet powered up their weapons and waited. They were confident. They were eager. They had no idea what was coming. The Everest dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Helix Nebula. The purple and gold clouds of the nebula stretched across space like a painting, beautiful and endless. But no one on the bridge was looking at the beauty. They were looking at the enemy. 847 warships floated in perfect formation. Each ship was black as night, covered in sharp angles and weapons. They looked like angry insects waiting to swarm. Lieutenant Haas's voice was steady as she reported, "All enemy vessels are powering weapons. They are scanning us." Admiral Sung sat calmly in his chair. He pulled out a small cigarette from his pocket and lit it. The smoke curled up toward the ceiling. "Let them look." On the flagship, the warlord stared at his screen with his yellow eyes. The human ship was large, yes, but it was alone. His 800 ships would tear it apart in minutes. "Open a channel," the warlord ordered. "I want to speak to these foolish humans." The main screen on the Everest flickered. The warlord's ugly face appeared, filling the display. His mouth was twisted in a cruel smile. "Human commander," the warlord said, "I am general of the Dominion. You have entered our hunting ground. I will give you one chance. Surrender now and I will kill you quickly. Resist and I will tear your ship apart piece by piece. Your crew will die screaming." Everyone on the bridge looked at Admiral Sung. The old man took a long drag from his cigarette. He blew out the smoke slowly. Then he reached forward and turned off the screen. Haas's eyes went wide. "Sir, you just hung up on him." "I know," Sung said. "I did not like his face." Commander stepped forward. "All stations report ready, Admiral. The crew is at battle positions." Sung nodded. "Chief Engineer Dong, activate the quantum shields." Down in the engineering section, Dong's thick fingers danced across his controls. Quantum shields coming online now. A blue light began to glow along the entire hull of the Everest. "Shields at full power. Let them try to hurt us." On the flagship, General was shaking with rage. "The human cut off my transmission. No one insults me like this." He slammed his fist on his throne. "All ships, open fire, destroy them." 800 warships fired at the same moment. Thousands of plasma bolts, missiles, and energy beams flew toward the Everest. The attack was so massive that space itself seemed to burn with light. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council watched through spy satellites. Ambassador covered his eyes with his hands. "It is over. The humans are dead." But when the light faded, the Everest was still there, completely untouched. Slowly lowered his hands. His 4 eyes blinked in confusion. What is this?" The quantum shields had absorbed every single attack. The blue glow around the ship pulsed gently, as if the Everest was laughing at the enemy. On the flagship, General stared at his screen in disbelief. "Impossible. Fire again. All weapons, continuous fire." The fleet attacked without stopping. For 10 full minutes, they poured everything they had at the lone human ship. Plasma cannons overheated. Missile bays ran empty. Energy weapons drained their power cells. The Everest did not move. It did not fire back. It simply floated there, taking every hit like they were nothing more than rain. Admiral Sung finished his cigarette and put it out. He stood up from his chair and looked at his crew. Every face was calm. Every officer was ready. "I think they are tired now," Sung said quietly. "Commander, it is time to show them why we only sent one ship." Smiled, it was not a kind smile. "With pleasure, Admiral." She turned to the weapons officer. "Lieutenant 1, launch the wolves." Deep inside the Everest, 200 metal doors opened along the ship's sides. From each door, a sleek black drone flew out into space. They were small, each one only 20 meters long, but they moved faster than any ship the galaxy had ever seen. They called them wolves because of how they hunted. They worked together like a pack, surrounding enemy ships and tearing them apart from all sides. Ha intercepted the communications. Their confident voices were gone. Now there was only confusion and fear. "What are those things?" "I cannot target them. They are too fast." "My shields are failing. Help me, help." The transmission ended in static. In the first 10 minutes, the wolves destroyed 50 ships. In the next 10 minutes, they destroyed 50 more. The formation began to break apart as ships tried to flee. General watched his fleet die. His yellow eyes were wide with shock. "This is not possible," he whispered. "It is just one ship, just one." On the Everest's bridge, Chief Engineer Dong laughed loudly. "One ship, General. No, 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 this is not just one ship." He spread his arms wide. "This is humanity." Admiral Sung returned to his chair. The battle had only just begun. "Send a message to the Council," he told Ha. "Tell them to keep watching. The show is not over yet." Across the galaxy, 12 species sat in stunned silence. The impossible was happening. One human ship was winning against an empire. And they were only starting to understand their mistake. The wolves were everywhere. They moved through the fleet like ghosts, appearing from nowhere and disappearing just as fast. Every time a ship tried to target them, they were already gone. Every time a captain thought he was safe, a wolf would appear behind him and tear his engines apart. Lieutenant 1 sat in her special command pod deep inside the Everest. Her eyes were closed, but she could see everything. A neural interface connected her brain directly to all 200 wolves. She felt them like they were parts of her own body. When a wolf turned left, she felt it. When a wolf fired its weapons, she felt it. 43 more enemy ships destroyed, she reported. Her voice was calm, almost dreaming, redirecting Pack 7 to intercept the fleeing vessels. On the bridge, Commander watched the battle map. The red dots representing ships were disappearing fast, but she did not smile. Her eyes stayed on the edge of the map, where something was happening. "Admiral," she said, "hyperspace signatures detected, multiple contacts." Sung leaned forward in his chair. "How many?" Ha's face went pale as she read her sensors. 1,500 ships just dropped out of hyperspace. They have called for reinforcements. The bridge went quiet. 1,500 new ships, added to the remaining 600 already fighting, that made over 2,000 enemies. The wolves were deadly, but there were only 200 of them. Chief Engineer Dong cracked his knuckles. "Admiral, I think it is time for Phase 2. Sung nodded slowly. "Agreed, Commander, recall the wolves. All hands prepare for separation." Across the ship, alarms began to sound. Not warning alarms, preparation alarms. The crew had trained for this moment for years. "Separation sequence starting," Dong announced. His voice was excited like a child opening a present. "Decoupling primary hull sections, activating independent power cores." They watched in confusion as the massive human ship began to break apart. First, the front section separated from the main body. Then the sides split away. The engines detached. The weapons platforms floated free. When it was finished, the Everest was no longer one ship. It was 7 ships. Each section was smaller than the original, but each one was fully armed, fully shielded, and fully independent. General screamed at his officers. "What is happening? What kind of ship is this?" No one could answer him. The 7 sections of the Everest spread out across the battlefield. They moved in perfect coordination, like fingers on a hand. When one section attacked from the front, another attacked from behind. When they tried to surround one section, the other 6 would close in and destroy the attackers. Ha worked at her station without rest. She was intercepting every communication and feeding the information directly to the 7-section commanders. Enemy formation is breaking apart. Their command structure is collapsing. On Section 3, Commander led her crew personally. Her section was the fastest and most heavily armed. She pushed deep into the formation, drawing their fire while the other sections flanked. All batteries focus on their flagship, ordered. Take out their leader and the rest will run. General felt his ship shake as human weapons hit his shields. His officers were dying around him. His screens showed nothing but fire and death. But he was not finished yet. He grabbed his communication device and sent out a galaxy-wide broadcast. All ships, this is General. Every vessel in the Dominion is ordered to the Helix Nebula immediately. Every ship. This is not a request. This is a command from your warlord. He paused, his yellow eyes burning with rage. We will drown these humans in our numbers. We will crush them with our might. For the Dominion. In the Galactic Council Hall, Ambassador watched with horror. He is calling all of them, the entire fleet, 3,000 ships. Another representative, a small creature with blue fur, began to cry. The humans cannot survive this. No one could survive this. But Ambassador Bin sat quietly in her chair. She was not worried. She was waiting. Back on the main bridge section of the Everest, Admiral Sung received the intercepted broadcast. He read it slowly, then set it down on his armrest. So, he said quietly, he is bringing everyone good. Ha looked at him with wide eyes. Admiral, good, sir, 3,000 ships are coming. Sung stood up and walked to the main window. Outside, the battle continued. His 7 sections were winning, but the reinforcements would arrive soon, very soon. Lieutenant, Sung said without turning around, do you know why I am called the patient wolf? Ha shook her head, even though he could not see her. Because a wolf does not chase its prey. A wolf waits for its prey to come to it. He turned around, and there was a cold fire in his old eyes. I wanted to call their entire fleet here. I wanted every single one of their ships in one place. He returned to his chair and sat down heavily. Send a message to General. Tell him that he should leave now, or there will be no tomorrow. Ha sent the message. The response came back in seconds. It was laughter. Sung nodded. I expected that. Prepare the hammer protocol. Dong's face went serious for the first time. Admiral, are you sure? The hammer protocol is. I know what it is, Sung interrupted. Prepare it. When their full fleet arrives, we end this war. The 7 sections of the Everest continued to fight, waiting for the storm that was coming. And in the engineering section, Dong began activating systems that had never been used before. Systems that would change the galaxy forever. The sky burned with light as 3,000 warships dropped out of hyperspace. They filled the Helix Nebula like a dark cloud, blocking out the stars themselves. It was the largest fleet the galaxy had ever seen in one place. General stood tall on his damaged flagship. His ship was hurt, but he was still alive. And now, with his full armada around him, he felt powerful again. Look at them, he growled to his officers. These humans think they can fight us. They are insects. We are the storm. He raised his fist high. All ships form attack pattern. Today we show the galaxy what happens when you challenge the Dominion. 3,000 ships began to move toward the 7 sections of the Everest. On every allied world, every council planet, every screen in the galaxy, people watched. They held their breath. They prayed. On the Everest's main bridge section, Lieutenant Ha's voice shook as she reported. 3,412 enemy ships confirmed. They are surrounding us. Admiral Sung did not look afraid. He looked tired, tired and sad. "Chief Engineer Dong," he said quietly, "is the hammer protocol ready?" In the engineering section, Dong stood before a massive control panel. His hands hovered over the final switch. "Ready, Admiral, but sir, once I activate this, there is no going back. Are you absolutely sure?" Sung closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about his wife, who had died 10 years ago. He thought about his daughter, serving on a colony ship far from here. He thought about all the young men and women on his crew who trusted him with their lives. Then he opened his eyes. "Do it." Dong pressed the switch. The 7 sections of the Everest stopped moving. They floated in space, surrounded by enemies on all sides. The thought they had given up. Then the sections began to reconnect. But something was different this time. When the sections came together, they did not form the same ship as before. They formed something new, something terrifying. The hull of the Everest began to glow, not blue like the shields, white, bright white like a star being born. General felt fear for the first time. What are they doing? Fire, fire now, destroy them before they finish. 3,000 ships opened fire at once. The attack was so massive that it should have destroyed a planet. But the white light around the Everest grew brighter and brighter, absorbing every shot like water swallowing stones. Inside the ship, Ha was crying, not from fear, from the beauty of what she was seeing. The power readings on her screen were impossible. They were beyond anything that should exist. "Admiral," she whispered, "the gravity core is reaching full power." Sung nodded. He pressed the communication button on his chair. "All hands, this is the Admiral. Brace yourselves. We are about to make history." The white light exploded outward from the Everest, but it was not an attack. It was something worse. A black hole appeared in the center of the fleet. Not a big one, just a small point of darkness no larger than a house, but its gravity was absolute. Ships began to slide toward it, their engines screaming as they tried to escape. 400 ships were pulled into the singularity in seconds. They stretched and twisted, crushed into nothing by the impossible gravity. Their screams filled the communication channels and then went silent. General watched his fleet die. His yellow eyes were empty. His dreams of conquest turned to ash. "Retreat," he whispered, then louder. "Retreat, all ships retreat." But it was too late for many. The black hole lasted only 30 seconds before it collapsed, but in those 30 seconds, 800 more ships were destroyed. The remaining fleet scattered in all directions, jumping into hyperspace without orders, without formation, without hope. General's flagship tried to run, but one of its engines was damaged from the earlier battle. The ship limped through space, too slow to escape. Commander's section caught up with him easily. "Admiral," she reported, "I have the warlord's ship in my sights, requesting permission to destroy." Sung shook his head slowly. "No, disable his weapons and engines. I want him alive." His weapons fired with perfect accuracy. The warlord's ship went dark, floating dead in space. Sung opened a channel to the disabled flagship. General's face appeared on the screen. The proud warlord was on his knees, blood running down his face. "This is Admiral Sung of the United Earth Navy," Sung said. His voice was calm and cold. "You are defeated. Your fleet is destroyed. Your conquest is over." Looked up at the screen, his eyes were broken. "How?" he asked. "How could one ship do this? What are you?" Sung leaned forward. "We are humans. We come from a small planet where everything tries to kill us. We survived ice ages. We survived plagues. We survived ourselves." He paused. "You thought you were hunters, but we are the species that hunted our hunters to extinction." He turned off the screen. In the Galactic Council Hall, there was no sound. Every representative sat frozen, staring at their screens. The battle was over. The Dominion had fallen, and humanity had revealed a power that terrified them all. Ambassador Bin stood up and straightened her uniform. She walked to the center of the hall and faced the council. "This is why you do not count our ships," she said clearly. "You count our resolve. When humanity decides to end a war, we end it." No one argued with her. No one dared. 1 month after the Battle of the Helix Nebula, the galaxy was quiet. The Dominion collapsed in days. Without their fleet, without their warlord, the Empire broke into pieces. The worlds they had conquered were freed. The species they had enslaved returned home. The war was over. The Galactic Council met again in their great hall, but this time there was no panic. There was something else, something like respect, and something like fear. High Ambassador stood at the center, but he did not speak first. He turned to the human section and bowed deeply. "Humanity has saved us all," he said. "The Council wishes to offer Earth the position of Supreme Leader of the Galactic Alliance. You have proven that you are the strongest species. You should lead us." Ambassador Bin stood up slowly. She looked around at all the different faces watching her. Some were hopeful, some were afraid. She understood both feelings. "Earth is honored by this offer," she said carefully, "but we must decline." Whispers filled the hall, blinked his 4 eyes in confusion. "Decline? But why? You have earned this right." Bin smiled sadly. "Power is not something to be earned. It is something to be used carefully. Humanity does not want to rule the galaxy. We want to protect it. There is a difference." She sat down again. "We will remain your ally. We will help when we are needed, but we will not be your masters. That is not who we are." The council was silent for a long time, then slowly nodded. "Perhaps that is exactly why you should lead, but we will respect your choice." Far away, the Everest floated in orbit around Earth. The great ship looked the same as before, but it carried new scars from the battle, marks on its hull where weapons had scratched the surface, small dents where debris had hit. But the ship was alive, and so was its crew. In the main hangar bay, the officers gathered for a ceremony. Admiral Sung stood at the front, wearing his formal uniform for the first time in years. His face was serious and tired. "We lost 17 crew members in the battle," he said quietly. 17 families who will never see their loved ones again. 17 heroes who gave everything so that others could live. He read their names one by one. Each name hung in the air like a prayer. "We won this war, but let us never forget the cost." The crew stood in silence. Some were crying. Some were holding each other. Commander stood alone, her eyes dry but her heart heavy. After the ceremony, Lieutenant Ha found Admiral Sung standing by a window, looking out at Earth below. "Admiral," she said softly, "the Council has sent a message. They want to know what humanity plans to do next." Sung did not turn around. "What do you think we should do, Lieutenant?" Ha thought for a moment. I think we should go home, rest, rebuild." The old admiral nodded. "That is exactly right." He finally turned to face her. For the first time since she had known him, he smiled. "You have done well, Ha. The Navy needs more officers like you." "Sir, I am recommending you for promotion, Captain Ha." He put his hand on her shoulder. "The next generation of ships will need commanders. I believe you are ready." Ha could not speak. Tears filled her eyes. She managed a small bow. "Thank you, Admiral. I will do my best." "I know you will." In the engineering section, Chief Engineer Dong was packing his tools. Commander found him there, surrounded by boxes and memories. "You are really leaving?" she asked. Dong laughed. "I am 62 years old, Commander. My bones hurt, my back hurts, and I have not seen Mai in 3 years. He closed a box and sat on it heavily. "The Everest was my life's work. She performed perfectly. Now it is time for young engineers to take over." Sat beside him. "What will you do?" "Teach. The Naval Academy has offered me a position." He smiled. "Maybe I will teach the next Dong how to build ships that scare the entire galaxy." They sat together in comfortable silence. A week later, Commander took a small shuttle to a distant world. It was a dead planet now, covered in ash and ruins. 20 years ago, it had been her home. She walked through the empty streets where she had played as a child. She found the place where her house had been. Nothing remained but broken stones. She knelt down and touched the ground. "I did it," she whispered. "I made them pay. I protected others from what happened to us." Tears ran down her face. "I hope you are proud of me." She stayed there for a long time. Then she stood up, wiped her eyes, and walked back to her shuttle. She had a new assignment waiting, a new ship to command, a new crew to protect. The past was gone, but the future was waiting. In the Galactic Council Hall, many years later, a young alien diplomat was learning about the history of the galaxy. He sat with an old council member, studying the records of the war. "I do not understand," the young diplomat said. "The humans only have 50 warships in their fleet. Why is everyone so afraid of them?" The old member looked at him with tired eyes. "Because when they send one ship, they mean to end the war. And if they send more—" The old member was quiet for a long moment. "Once, long ago, a species tried to attack Earth directly. They thought they could win if they struck first. What happened? The humans sent 2 ships. The old member's voice dropped to a whisper. "We do not speak of that world anymore." "Why not?" "Because it no longer exists." The young diplomat felt cold. What about the species that lived there? The old member just shook his head. In orbit around Earth, the Everest floated peacefully among the stars. Admiral Sung had retired. Commander had her own ship now. The crew had scattered across the galaxy. But the ship remained, waiting, watching. Ready? Because humanity had learned something long ago on their dangerous little planet. Peace was precious. Life was precious. And sometimes, to protect what you love, you must become the thing that monsters fear. The galaxy was quiet now. And humanity planned to keep it that way.